All right. Things are a little bit different. The Nike Kiger has always been one of my favorite trail shoes when fast, flashy, and nimble is the name of the game, and super grip is less of a priority. They've always looked good, felt good, and managed to get me through all sorts of races, runs, and adventures. The new 7th version does bring some newness that thankfully continues to keep the good shoe good. With a complete, though subtle, redesign, the 7th Kiger changes the upper layout and overlays slightly, moves the Zoom Air unit under the forefoot, reimagines the outsole and lugs, redesigns the segmented rock plate, and supposedly improves the fit. Now honestly, the shoe doesn't feel dramatically different, but does give me a bit more confidence on certain terrain and conditions while still showing off that classic Kiger flavor I've come to love. But can the new Kiger hang with the onslaught of recent trail offerings? Can the Kiger 7 hold up against its thick partner, the Wildhorse 7, which I also reviewed today? And which of the two would I choose? Well, I hope to find out in today's reviews. Let's dive in with the Kiger 7.
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner review. Now, first, you might notice that things look a little bit different. That's because we sort of have a makeshift studio set up. It's holding together with duct tape and super glue. That is because we have some exciting announcements, which we'll talk about in future reviews and stuff like that. If you are a crew member, you probably already know. Lots of fun changes and growth ahead. Get excited. Now, today I'm excited because we have two reviews. You are currently watching my review of the Nike Trail Terra Kiger 7. I'm super excited to talk about this, but we are also reviewing the Wildhorse 7 from Nike Trail. That review link is in the description. As always, before we get into the review, I have to point out that these shoes were provided for review by Nike Trail. I'm under no obligation to say anything. I'm not financially compensated to say anything. No one has to see or approve this review because all the thoughts are mine alone. They're my experiences. You're the first to see it. Let's get into it. With all my reviews, I like to talk about the things that I like and dislike. Today is no different. Let's talk about the things I like about the Terra Kiger 7. Redesign. So I like what Nike did here from version 6 of the Kiger to version 7. It might look like there's not a lot of changes, but it is almost a complete overhaul, just with some subtle little movements and changes of things abound. What's happened is that we have a better Kiger than the previous version, even though those changes are quite subtle. Movement of some of the welded overlays, some mesh changes, a little bit of tie-down changes across the top, change in the rock protection underneath, the Zoom Air pocket, the outsole. There are a lot of changes, though all of them are subtle. So what we end up getting is just a better version of the Kiger that we had previously. You still got the same great look, same great feel underfoot. So this redesign I consider a highly successful one. Protection. Now, one thing I never really thought I would get out of the Terra Kiger is a lot of protective elements, or at least a protective feel underfoot. That definitely came in the Wildhorse package, but the Kiger was always sort of that more minimal, more race-oriented trail runner from Nike. This still gets you plenty of protection, though. We've got a different outsole, more lugs, a bit more thickness and a bit more protection underfoot. Air Zoom pocket adding a little bit of protection. Some of the rock plate elements now being a little bit split, so you still have your flexibility. Welded overlays in the right places. A really good, durable mesh. Overall, protection is there. When you are running longer distances or running over more technical terrain, the shoe does provide you with enough protection underfoot, or at least more than what I've felt in other previous versions. That's a good thing in the Kiger 7. I like it, which dovetails nicely into my final like, the outsole. So this is one of the new changes to the shoe that I think does a real service to it overall as a trail shoe. The outsole now has bigger, a bit more aggressive lugs. Compared to some previous versions, these shoes are notorious for slipping and sliding and not having a ton of grip, especially more inclement weather. That's at least my experience. We'll talk about that a lot with the Wildhorse 7. But what we do have here is a bit of a redesign that works well. The angled lugs, depending on whether it's on the heel or the forefoot. I feel like I've talked about the outsole on the Terra Kigers and the Wildhorse almost in every single iteration of the shoe. So this is nice to say a few positive things about it. The redesign is subtle and fine, and it works well in drier conditions, but it still has some shortcomings, which I'll get to here in just a second, but it's at least a movement in the right direction. That being said, it's not all super soakers and Nerf wars. There are a couple of things that I dislike about the Nike Trail Terra Kiger 7. Let's get to those now. Wet grip. So yeah, I do like that the lugs have been redesigned. I like that they're a little bit thicker, they're more angled, a bit more aggressive. But guess what? The rubber's pretty much the same, meaning these shoes don't get a ton of grip in wet conditions. Whether you're running on rocks, roots, any sort of mud surfaces whatsoever, these shoes just slip and slide. Even if it's just lightly wet out on the concrete, I feel like this rubber is very resistant to wanting to grip. I've been noticing it a ton here on local trails. Even when it's sunny and dry outside, some rocks that might still have a little bit of moisture on them, not even river crossings or anything like that. They're just very slippery. Everything's very slippery with these shoes. It does not make me pleased. And finally, fit and lacing. I still think we have some issues here across the midfoot with the tongue and the laces and the whole system on getting a good lockdown in this shoe. They do take a couple of reties to make sure that you have equal tension throughout the lace gate. I do have the additional loops for some ankle tightening here across the top, but no matter what, I still find myself having to lace these down multiple times just to equate the tension across the midfoot. Unfortunately, what you always end up getting is some additional tension here right along the front of the ankle, which is always really tedious, really bothersome, especially as your foot begins to swell on longer runs. The thin laces don't help. The padded tongue does, but the shoes themselves are kind of hard to get a good lockdown, a good fit across the midfoot, and that's one of the most important parts to get a good fit apart, and that ultimately is frustrating. But otherwise, I'm finding myself really liking the simplicity of the Terra Kiger 7 once again. Starting right now, I'm going to do a bit of a reorganization in how I do these reviews. Normally, I go right to the conclusion and then I do a more intricate breakdown of the 5 categories of my rating system. I'm going to swap those. So I'm actually going to get to the 5 criteria that I like to sort of break a shoe down into more specific criteria. Those 5 criteria are build quality, comfort, fit, price, and looks. Of course, they're all objective, but here's what I think about that. Starting with build quality. You know, I'm actually a fan of what Nike does with their trail shoes. I don't really have major breakdown issues as far as build quality is concerned. The materials they're using, they're always really, really good. In this case, the laces and the choice of materials here across the midfoot is kind of an issue. Also, this is probably one of the big gripes that no one will really talk about. The little heel lace loop to get these shoes on. The angle of it is so frustrating because it pulls the shoe on at an angle that doesn't, it's just opposite. It needs to be the other way or straight up. That build element is bad. I don't like it. Comfort, the shoes are super comfortable. I'm not gonna lie. The React midsole is really plush and cushioned. You don't have as much in this as you do in the Wildhorse, but that's okay. I think the shoe with that added protection, just the overall feel of the shoe itself is really comfortable and great for a lot of different circumstances, distances, runs, and scenarios, whether race or training. Fit, it's already mentioned it, it's one of my gripes. I think across the midfoot, it's gonna be an issue for some people. Getting a good tie down, getting a good lock. I do find that the shoe itself flexes pretty heartily through the midfoot and here in the ankle collar, so just getting a good lockdown through the ankle collar is gonna be kind of difficult. This is where people might have an issue through the midfoot fit and the ankle fit. There's still plenty of room up in the toe box though. I'm a fan of that. Price at $139. This is the more expensive of the 2 pairs I'm reviewing today. There's so many other trail shoes that are higher priced than that. So I think at $139, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. It is higher over the Wildhorse. I think it's worth it. And finally, looks. I have always been a fan of Nike shoe looks. I think that they just spare no expense in their design department. The way they choose their colors, their color combinations are really bold and unique. I will always fawn over the looks of Nike shoes. Some of them are clearly beauty in the eye of the beholder, but when it comes to the Kiger 7, I dig it. I think it looks great. Now, let's wrap this all up. So, in conclusion, the Nike Trail Terra Kiger 7 is probably one of my favorite Kigers to date. It's a solid race-ready partner to the workhorse Wildhorse 7, and I think what's really great about it is that it can still hold its own. So if you're looking for just one shoe and you don't want to splurge on like a training shoe versus a race shoe, this could be a do-it-all type of shoe. And now in its 7th version, it doesn't feel too elite. It doesn't feel like it was designed for an elite runner. So even someone like me, a mid-packer, can enjoy running in Nike's race-ready trail rocket. The laces and fit are a bit rough around the edges, but those are easy to look over when you have a shoe that is protective and comfortable and fun to run in. Just make sure you're not running on wet surfaces. Bringing us to our final criteria. Is the Nike Trail Terra Kiger 7 a buy, try, or a why? I'm gonna give this one a buy, because I think at $139, it's not the most expensive trail shoe out there, and I still think you get a lot of bang for your buck, as I mentioned earlier. I think it's worth it. I think it's fun, and I think you will like it if you have not tried them already. All right, That's it, my friends. That's it for my review. I hope that you enjoyed it. I am super curious in the comments of this video. Let me know what you think of the Nike Terra Kiger 7. Have you run in any of the Terra Kigers in the past? Are you excited about the new version? Let us know in the comments. I'm excited to see and hear what you guys think. If you have any more questions or want any more information, or you want to get a pair for yourself, there's a link in the description that will take you over to Running Warehouse. It's an affiliate link. It costs you nothing, but it does help the channel out. And if that is something that you would like to do, please consider using that link to buy all your running gear. It does truly help us out. And if you would like to join our Patreon crew instead and just join the GR crew, you get some really fun perks on the back end. You can do that as well. Link in the description. Join the crew. That's it, everyone. We hope you're getting out there, training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week for more fun. Go check out the Wildhorse review while you're here, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thanks. See you next time. Bye-bye.